Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to discuss a topic that has been debated, misinterpreted, and at times even dismissed outright, but it remains crucial to the psychological and emotional health of relationships. A man must always conceal 5 things from a woman. Now, before the outrage begins, let's be clear. This is not about deception. It is about wisdom. It is about understanding the dynamics of masculine responsibility and feminine perception. There are elements of a man's life that, if laid bare without consideration, can weaken his own standing, destabilize his relationship, and even create unnecessary distress for the woman he loves. A man walks this world carrying burdens he can scarcely put into words. Every hardship, every setback, every silent wound etched into his soul he shoulders alone. He does not have the luxury of crumbling. He does not possess the privilege of exposing his deepest doubts without consequence. When a man allows his struggles to dominate his interactions, he weakens the foundation upon which his strength is built. A woman does not desire to see the full scope of a man's suffering. She desires to feel his resilience in the face of it. No woman is built to carry the totality of a man's internal chaos. She may love him, she may support him, but she is not meant to absorb the weight of his demons. A man who bleeds out his pain indiscriminately to his woman risks eroding her respect for him. The moment she perceives him as incapable of enduring, something within her shifts. She may still care for him, but she will never look at him the same way again. To be a man is to walk alone in certain battles, not because he is unloved, not because he lacks support, but because his role demands that he remain steadfast even when his spirit shakes. A man who constantly seeks emotional refuge in his woman will find her admiration slipping through his fingers. Women may nurture, but they do not wish to mother a man who is supposed to be their pillar. The moment she feels the need to prop him up, her desire for him begins to wane. A man's ability to endure in silence is not a sign of suppression. It is a mark of discipline. There is a profound difference between sharing wisely and burdening recklessly. A man must know the distinction. He must recognize when his words bring clarity and when they sow unnecessary distress. A woman wants to believe in the strength of her man. If he unravels before her at every difficulty, he forces her into a role she never wanted, to be the one holding the fortress when it should have been him. The modern world preaches the idea that vulnerability is the path to deeper connection. But vulnerability, when unchecked, leads to dependency. A man who becomes emotionally dependent on his woman for his stability is no longer a leader in his relationship. He has surrendered the very essence of what makes him attractive, his ability to face the storm without crumbling. A man's struggles are his to conquer. He may seek counsel from mentors, he may confide in those who understand the weight of responsibility, but he must never place that burden squarely on the shoulders of the woman he loves. She may say she wants full transparency, but what she truly wants is reassurance. She does not need to know the depths of his despair. She needs to feel that he can rise from it. A woman desires a man who can stand unwavering, even when the world seeks to break him. If he exposes too much of his internal battles, he diminishes that image. She may sympathize, but she will no longer feel that deep, unshakable pull toward him. She will begin to see him as fragile, as someone who needs saving, rather than someone who offers safety. And once that perception shifts, it is near impossible to reclaim. A man who constantly seeks validation for his pain loses sight of what it means to be truly strong. Strength is not the absence of struggle. It is the refusal to be consumed by it. A man who carries his burdens with quiet resolve exudes a power that words cannot replicate. His presence alone commands respect. His woman may not know the full extent of his battles, but she feels the force of his determination. To reveal everything is to give away the very thing that makes a man compelling, his ability to navigate chaos without being consumed by it. A woman may love deeply, but she is not built to be the foundation of a man's emotional survival. When he leans too heavily on her for that, he forces her into a position that erodes attraction. She may still care, but she will no longer look at him with the same fire in her eyes. A man must be cautious with his emotional transparency. The world will tell him to be fully open, but reality does not reward reckless exposure. There is a time to share, and there is a time to endure in silence. There is a way to confide without seeking rescue. A man who understands this wields a power that most do not. He becomes the man a woman can trust, not just with her heart, but with her faith in his leadership. Weakness does not attract, it repels. And there is a fine line between honest expression and emotional dependence. A man who collapses under the weight of his struggles in front of his woman is not demonstrating courage. He is dismantling the very structure of security she longs for. If he cannot withstand himself, how can he expect her to see him as someone who can withstand the world? A woman's nature is drawn to stability, to certainty, to the quiet confidence of a man who can weather any storm. If he floods her with his every fear, his every hesitation, he forces her to bear a responsibility she was never meant to carry. She may listen, she may console, but deep down, something in her shifts. A primal part of her begins to doubt, and once doubt takes root, admiration begins to fade. A man does not hide his struggles out of dishonesty, he conceals them out of wisdom. He understands that his role is not to seek emotional refuge, but to be the rock upon which his woman can lean. He may feel the weight of the world crushing him, but he does not crumble before her. He stands no matter the cost, because he knows that the moment he falls apart in front of her, something irreparable fractures between them. He may bleed in battle, but he does not bring that blood home. He may fight demons in the dark, but he does not let them roam freely in his relationship. He understands that to be a man is to carry burdens without making them another's to bear. The world does not grant sympathy to men who falter, and neither does the subconscious mind of a woman who once saw him as unshakable. A man does not seek comfort in exposing his wounds. He seeks strength in overcoming them. He may feel broken, but he does not showcase that brokenness as a plea for reassurance. He repairs himself in silence, and when he speaks with certainty, not despair. He may suffer, but he does not allow suffering to redefine him. A woman's love is deep, but it is not unconditional in the way fairy tales suggest. It is built on admiration, on respect, on the unwavering belief that the man she stands beside is strong enough to carry the weight of his own battles. The moment he ceases to be that man, the foundation of their connection begins to erode. No man will walk this life without hardship. No man will escape the burden of his own mind, but only the wise man understands that his struggle is his own to conquer. He does not offload it onto the woman who looks to him for stability. He does not turn her into the pillar when he was meant to be the foundation. He stands always, because the moment he does not, he loses far more than he ever anticipated. A man must understand that not everything about him should be exposed. The moment he lays his entire soul bare, he diminishes an essential part of himself. Mystery is not deception, it is power. It is the unspoken force that draws people in, the silent command that holds attention, the undeniable presence of something deeper beneath the surface. A man who reveals too much of his inner world too soon gives away his most valuable asset, the sense that there is more to him than what meets the eye. A woman is drawn to the unknown, to the layers she has yet to uncover, to the silent depths of a man who cannot be fully grasped in a single moment. When a man exposes everything he thinks, everything he feels, everything that passes through his mind without hesitation, he loses the tension that keeps attraction alive. Predictability is death to desire. The more available his thoughts are, the less value they hold. The moment he becomes an open book, he stops being a story worth reading. A man who constantly reveals his deepest thoughts without discretion weakens his presence. Mystery compels attention, it forces curiosity, it demands respect. A man who is too eager to be understood, who explains himself at every turn, who rushes to justify his every action, robs himself of the very thing that makes him compelling. The more he chases full disclosure, the less he commands intrigue. A woman desires connection, but she does not desire complete exposure. She may say she wants to know everything, but the moment a man hands her his entire inner world without reservation, he unwittingly robs her of the very thing that fuels passion, the slow unraveling of the unknown. There is no excitement in full disclosure, no electricity in what is too easily given. A man must let himself be discovered piece by piece, not thrown open like a door with nothing left to explore. A man must guard certain corners of his mind, not because he is hiding, but because he is maintaining his presence. The weight of mystery is felt in the spaces between words, in the thoughts he chooses not to express, in the restraint he exercises when he could easily pour himself out. It is not secrecy, it is discipline. It is the understanding that value is not in overexposure, but in selective revelation. A man who controls what he reveals controls how he is perceived. A woman is not drawn to what is given too easily. She does not long for a man whose every thought is available on demand. She wants to feel the pull of something just beyond her reach, something that invites her to lean in, to look deeper, to crave more. The moment she feels there is nothing left to uncover, her fascination withers. There is no depth in a man who lays everything at her feet before she has even learned to appreciate it. A man must understand the power of silence. Not every thought needs to be spoken. Not every emotion needs to be displayed. The man who knows when to hold back, when to let his presence speak louder than his words, when to let his actions create questions instead of explanations, he is the man who remains unforgettable. He does not flood the room with noise. He does not scramble to be understood. He lets the weight of his presence command respect without unnecessary exposition. A woman is drawn to strength, but strength is not just physical. It is mental, it is emotional. It is the ability to carry something within without the need for constant validation. A man who requires others to confirm his worth, who needs to be seen, who needs to be constantly understood, dilutes his own significance. The world does not reward overexposure. It rewards restraint. It rewards the man who does not feel the need to explain himself at every turn, the man who moves with quiet certainty, the man who holds something back, not out of fear, but out of mastery. The most powerful men in history understood this. They did not seek to be known in their entirety. They let others wonder. They let others question. They let their presence, their decisions, and their undeniable sense of control speak for them. They did not drown the world in their thoughts. They revealed only what was necessary, only what added to their stature, only what deepened their authority. A man who is too open about his thoughts, his emotions, his every fleeting feeling does not create connection. He creates familiarity, and familiarity, when unchecked, breeds complacency. What is too easily understood becomes ordinary. What is ordinary becomes ignored. A man must resist the urge to explain himself excessively. He must understand that his power lies in what is left unsaid as much as in what is spoken. A woman does not need to know a man's every thought to feel close to him. She does not need constant verbal validation to feel secure. What she needs is the undeniable presence of a man who is in control of himself, a man who does not waver in his sense of self, a man who does not hand over his mind so easily that it loses all weight. She does not want to read his every page in a day. She wants to unfold him slowly over time, piece by piece, always feeling that there is something more to uncover. A man must know that mystery is not deception. It is the careful curation of his presence. It is the refusal to be entirely available. It is the discipline to let others wonder, to let them desire to understand rather than forcing them to see everything at once. A man who speaks too much about himself, who reveals too quickly, who lays his mind bare without discernment, forfeits his own intrigue. He is no longer a puzzle to be solved. He is a script already read. Attraction is built on contrast. It thrives in the space between knowing and not knowing. A man who leaves nothing to the imagination diminishes his impact. A man who rushes to explain himself at every turn suffocates the very force that makes him compelling. A woman does not long for a man who has no depth left to explore. She does not dream of a man whose every thought is predictable. She craves a man who keeps her engaged, who keeps her questioning, who keeps her drawn to him in ways she cannot fully explain. The power of mystery is not just in withholding, it is in controlled revelation. A man must be intentional with what he shares, when he shares it, and why. He must understand that his value is not in his accessibility, but in the depth that remains unseen. He must resist the impulse to overexpose, to overexplain, to prove himself through words rather than presence. A woman may ask questions, but she does not want every answer handed to her too soon. She wants to feel the slow build of connection, the steady unfolding of a man who is not desperate to be understood, but secure enough to let himself be discovered. The man who embraces this truth commands attention without seeking it, holds respect without demanding it, and remains unforgettable long after others have faded into the background. A woman looks to a man not just for love, but for certainty. She does not simply see him as he is. She sees him as a force that stands between her and the chaos of the world. The moment she begins to sense fragility in his presence, something deep within her shifts. She may still care, she may still offer comfort, but the foundation upon which desire is built begins to crack. The unshakable image she held of him begins to erode. The idealization that made him powerful in her eyes starts to slip away. A woman admires strength, not just in the way a man carries himself, but in the way he carries his burdens. She does not want to witness helplessness in the man she loves. She does not want to feel as though she must hold him together. The moment she senses that his struggles have consumed him, that his uncertainty outweighs his direction, she begins to lose the very feeling that once made her drawn to him. When a man reveals too much of his inner fears, when he lays out his deepest insecurities without caution, he forces a woman to see him as weak, even if she offers reassurance, even if she tells him that she understands. A part of her instinctively pulls away. She may never say it out loud. She may not even fully recognize it within herself. But something within her stops viewing him as the pillar she once believed him to be. A man must understand that admiration is not unconditional. It is built on perception. It is built on how he carries himself in the face of adversity. A man who allows his struggles to redefine how he is seen by a woman will find himself losing the respect that once kept her close. She wants to feel safe with him, to feel that no matter what happens, he will not crumble. The moment she senses that he is lost, she begins to question whether she chose the right man to follow. A woman does not love blindly. She loves with instinct. She follows the force of a man's presence, the aura of his confidence, the silent command of his direction. She does not want to feel as though she must guide him through his own darkness. She does not want to become the source of his stability. The moment she senses that he relies on her to hold himself together, she stops feeling the very attraction that made her look at him with admiration. A man who exposes his deepest weaknesses without restraint is a man who unknowingly undermines his own place in a woman's heart. She may offer comfort. She may say she will never leave, but the way she looks at him will change. The way she respects him will shift. She does not want to feel as though she must protect him from himself. She does not want to feel as though she is now responsible for his strength. A woman thrives on certainty. She needs to feel that the man she is with is unwavering in his path. If he constantly questions himself, if he reveals that he does not know where he is going, if he lays bare the full extent of his fears, she begins to lose trust in his ability to lead. She may not walk away immediately, but something inside her will never see him the same way again. A man must carry his struggles with quiet strength. He must understand that not everything should be shared, that not every fear should be spoken aloud. The way he handles his burdens dictates how a woman sees him. If he allows his insecurities to take the forefront of his presence, he forces her to see him as unstable. If he constantly expresses his doubts, he erodes the very sense of security she once felt with him. A woman wants a man she can trust, not just with her heart, but with her belief in his ability to face the world. She does not want to be the one who holds him up when he should be the one holding her steady. The moment she senses that he is too fragile, too uncertain, too reliant on her validation, she begins to feel a subtle repulsion. She may not recognize it immediately, but it will grow. A man who loses a woman's idealization rarely regains it. Once she sees him as weak, once she sees him as lost, once she feels the weight of carrying him when he was supposed to be her protector, the relationship begins to shift in ways that can never be undone. She may still love him, but she will not admire him. She may still stay, but she will not crave him. She may still care, but she will not follow. A man must not make his woman the place where he seeks validation for his struggle. She can be a source of comfort, but she should never become the foundation of his strength. The moment he relies on her to lift him up, he places her in a role that will eventually push her away. He must be the rock. He must be the steady force. He must be the presence that does not waver, even when everything around him is uncertain. A woman's attraction is not built on logic alone. It is built on feeling. It is built on the unshakable belief that the man she is with is strong enough to carry himself. She does not analyze her admiration. She feels it. She does not question why she respects a man. She simply does. But the moment he forces her to see his fragility too clearly, the moment he exposes his deepest fears without restraint, the feeling begins to fade. A man must master himself before he expects a woman to follow him. He must face his struggles without making them the center of his identity. He must endure his hardships without allowing them to define how he is seen. He must maintain the presence of certainty even when he feels uncertain inside. Because the moment he allows his struggles to consume him in front of her, the moment he seeks her reassurance more than he provides it, the dynamic shifts in a way that can never be undone. A woman does not want to feel like the stronger one in the relationship. She does not want to feel as though she must guide a man through his own emotions. She may offer love, she may offer support, but the moment she senses that she must become his emotional anchor, she begins to withdraw. She may not say it aloud, but her heart will begin to close. Her admiration will begin to fade. Her passion will begin to cool. A man must be the pillar, not the burden. He must be the force of stability, not the source of uncertainty. A woman will love a man who faces struggles, but she will not love a man who is consumed by them. She will admire a man who endures hardship, but she will not admire a man who collapses under it. She will stand beside a man who fights his battles, but she will not stand behind a man who expects her to fight them for him. A man who wishes to be admired must guard the way he presents himself. He must recognize that his struggles do not excuse weakness. He must understand that his pain does not justify fragility. He must know that the way he carries himself dictates the way a woman sees him. If he allows himself to become small in her eyes, if he lets his fears dictate his presence, if he reveals too much of his uncertainty without control, he will lose the very thing that made her look at him with admiration. A woman will love deeply, but she will not love blindly. She will stand by a man who stands strong, but she will not stand behind a man who makes her feel unprotected. The moment he loses her admiration, the moment she sees him as weaker than she believed, the relationship is no longer the same. A man must never forget that a woman's idealization is not something given, it is something earned. And once lost, it is almost impossible to regain. A man must understand that his future is his responsibility. It is not something to be placed in the hands of another, not something to be endlessly debated, not something to be shared before it has taken form. A man's ambitions are the foundation of his power, and if he speaks of them too soon, he risks draining them of their energy before they have even begun to manifest. The more a man discusses his dreams, the more he invites doubt, criticism, and resistance into a vision that is still taking shape. A woman does not want to hear about a man's plans. She wants to see them materialize. Words mean nothing without action. Promises create expectations that, when unfulfilled, breed disappointment. A man who speaks too much of his future without delivering on it slowly erodes the very respect he seeks to build. He becomes just another man with words, just another man with ideas, just another man who cannot turn potential into reality. A man who protects his ambitions does so not out of secrecy, but out of the knowledge that speaking too soon weakens the force of his conviction. The world does not reward the man who merely speaks. It rewards the man who executes. It rewards the man who moves in silence, who builds in the shadows, who understands that the energy behind an idea must be protected until it is strong enough to stand on its own. A man who constantly talks about what he will do dissipates his own momentum. The more he shares his plans, the more he opens them to interference, to doubt, to unnecessary commentary that does nothing but slow him down. A woman is drawn to certainty, not speculation. She does not admire a man for what he says he will do. She admires him for what he has done, for what he is doing, for the undeniable proof of his capability. The moment a man makes a habit of discussing his ambitions without action, he invites skepticism. She may nod, she may listen, but deep inside she begins to question whether he is truly the man he claims to be. A man who constantly explains his future risks appearing as someone who needs permission to pursue it. A woman does not want a man who seeks validation before he moves. She does not want a man who needs her approval to chase his purpose. She wants a man who follows his mission with or without her understanding, with or without her agreement, with or without the need for reassurance. A man must carry the weight of his ambitions without asking anyone else to bear it with him. If he needs constant encouragement to stay the course, he proves that he is not yet ready to walk it. A man who is serious about his future does not waste energy convincing others of its worth. He does not seek applause before he has won. He does not need an audience before he has built something worth seeing. The moment he talks too much, he cheapens his own path. He allows others to weigh in on things they do not understand, to cast doubt on things they cannot envision, to shape his future with their own limitations. The more he exposes his plans, the more he opens the door for their destruction before they have even begun. A woman may ask about a man's future, but what she truly seeks is confidence, not explanation. She does not need details. She needs certainty. She does not need a roadmap. She needs to feel that he knows where he is going. The moment a man starts over-explaining, starts looking for approval, starts depending on her belief before he has even proven himself, he weakens the very foundation of his authority. A man must trust in his own direction more than he trusts in the opinions of those around him. The path of a man is a solitary one. It is not something to be debated. It is not something to be laid out for discussion. It is something to be walked step by step with unwavering focus. The more a man seeks permission, the more he dilutes his own power. The more he reveals his plans before they are realized, the more he exposes himself to unnecessary obstacles. The moment a man allows another to influence his direction too soon, he risks losing sight of it entirely. A woman respects action more than intention. She does not care for a man's words if they do not align with his movements. She does not invest in promises, she invests in proof. The more a man delays execution, the more he invites doubt. The more he over-explains, the more he appears uncertain. A man must let his actions speak for themselves. He must move forward with or without permission, with or without external validation, with or without the need to be understood. A man who guards his ambitions does so not out of fear, but out of wisdom. He knows that ideas are fragile in their early stages, that momentum is easily lost, that the wrong words at the wrong time can cripple even the greatest of plans. He does not waste time convincing others of what he will become. He becomes it. He does not need approval before he makes his move. He moves, and the world adjusts accordingly. The more a man holds back from revealing his vision too soon, the more power he retains over its outcome. A woman does not want to be the architect of a man's future. She does not want to feel as though she must build his confidence before he can take action. She wants to witness his strength, not be the source of it. A man who constantly seeks validation for his ambitions makes himself a burden rather than a leader. The moment he places the weight of his decisions onto her shoulders, he reverses the very dynamic that makes her drawn to him. She wants to follow a man who knows where he is going, not guide a man who is unsure of himself. A man's future is his alone to shape. The more he externalizes it, the more he risks losing control over it. The world is filled with opinions, filled with distractions, filled with people who do not see what he sees. If he allows others to influence his vision before it has taken form, he weakens the very foundation upon which it is built. The moment he seeks too much feedback, he exposes himself to hesitation, to confusion, to the slow erosion of his own conviction. A woman does not need a man to tell her what he will become. She needs to sense his direction without him needing to announce it. The man who constantly speaks of his plans without execution slowly loses credibility. The man who moves forward without hesitation, without the need to explain himself at every step, commands a level of respect that cannot be questioned. A man must protect his ambitions like a flame in the wind. He must shield them from unnecessary exposure. He must guard them from the opinions of those who do not share his vision. He must resist the urge to seek validation before he has proven himself. The moment he allows his direction to become a topic of debate, he invites uncertainty into something that should remain unshakable. A woman follows a man who is already moving, not a man who is waiting for permission to begin. She is drawn to the man who carries himself with certainty, not the man who needs her reassurance before he can step forward. The more a man speaks of his future without action, the less serious he appears. The more he guards his ambitions and lets his success reveal itself in time, the more undeniable his presence becomes. A man must build before he speaks. He must act before he explains. He must achieve before he expects belief. His future is not a conversation. It is a reality that he must bring into existence. The more he focuses on movement instead of words, the more unstoppable he becomes. A man must understand that the foundation of his strength lies in his ability to protect what must be protected, to restrain what must be restrained, and to carry what must be carried in silence. He is not a creature of blind vulnerability, nor is he one who seeks validation for his struggles. He is the architect of his presence, the guardian of his ambition, the force that stands between chaos and order in his own life. A man must never forget that his value is not in what he reveals, but in what he masters. The moment he exposes too much of his fears, he risks losing the respect that once made him admirable. The moment he lays bare his insecurities without discipline, he invites doubt where certainty should stand. The moment he speaks of his future before it is realized, he dilutes the power of his own direction. A man who does not guard himself becomes a man who is slowly diminished in the eyes of those who once looked up to him. A woman does not love blindly, she loves with instinct. She does not admire words, she admires presence. She does not crave weakness disguised as honesty, she craves strength tempered by wisdom. She is drawn to the man who understands that power is not in reckless openness, but in controlled revelation. She respects the man who knows when to speak and when to remain silent, when to share and when to hold back, when to lead without seeking permission. A man's path is his alone. It is not meant to be debated before it is walked, not meant to be justified before it is proven, not meant to be placed in the hands of those who do not bear its burden. He must move forward without fear, without hesitation, without the need to be understood at every turn. He must build in silence, endure in silence, and let his actions speak louder than any words ever could. The moment a man masters himself, he masters his world. The moment he stops seeking validation, he commands respect. The moment he understands what must be hidden and what must be revealed, he becomes the force that cannot be ignored, the presence that cannot be shaken, the man who leads without question. And in doing so, he becomes not just the man a woman desires, but the man the world cannot deny.